All
Yeah.
right. Well, let's crack on and see how we
Let's
go.
crack it. Let's do it.
All right. Welcome to Building Stories, the podcast where we tell honest and sometimes funny stories about construction and digital transformation. Really excited to have our mate Anthony Habashy on the call. He's a group DE manager at Mirvac. So he's dealing with all kinds of problems day in, day out and solving them and pushing forward innovation all the time. Thanks for coming along, mate.
Mate, pleasure. Absolute pleasure to have me on board. Thank you.
Yeah. So we got a bit of a script. We go through some questions. Your young years, mate, were there any hints you would want to be involved in this industry, architecture, design, building, when you're a little tacker?
No. Absolutely not.
Just fell
Okay.
into it.
Yeah, no, I mean, in my young years, I always wanted to be a soccer player. That was my thing. And I'll have to say I was kind of good at it at one point. It did go quite far, but didn't pay the bills, which was the problem. And my old man was my background's Egyptian, so my old man was very strict on a good career,
Yep.
and yeah, so a soccer player or anything of the sports wasn't a good career. So that kind of gave me an ultimatum to just think about something different. And 25 years later, here I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you still love soccer, mate.
I still play soccer. I still love soccer. I still watch it. I still do everything.
Still not playing the bills.
It's not paying the bills, but Mirvac pays the bills at the moment, which is good. Yeah.
Okay, so how did you get? What did you study after school? Is there
So
architecture?
We got to a point where I was kind of hitting a bit of a crossroads in my life. There was a lot of pressure from family to I'm the only son. You got to succeed. This is how you got to do this. You got to do that. And that was the kind of pressure that we had. Growing up, and both my sisters were way better than me at anything. Other than football, but I mean, like, for example, my oldest sister, who she's like the prize jewel of the family. She 99 HSC. She was perfect at everything. She used to be the director of Engineers Australia. She
Wow.
was like super leader child, and then you had me, who was this rat bag troublemaker that always caused trouble everywhere I went. So I really had to make a decision, at one point, and it was like it was at a crossroads of school, and it was, what am I going to do? And what influenced what I wanted to do was basically what my old man used to do, and my dad had was also a jack of all trades, and he had a number of different trades, and he had many different careers growing up, but he. When he came to Australia, he had multiple careers, but one that he got me involved in was he used to build houses, right? He had a company called Great Western Homes, and he used to build houses in Camden, which is like back in the day was like an old farming town. So it was like really old, just bush, right? And so they used to build, what we see now in large residential areas, and yeah, he started that. So he used to take me to site as a kid, and I was always good at the building part of stuff, and so that kind of ventured into where I wanted to study. And again, I'll go back to me being a rat bag, and say that I didn't really complete my HSC. And so had very limited options as to what I could study, but it gave me the pillars of where I am today, and that was essentially, let's go to TAFE, let's study architectural technology, let's also study structural engineering, and let's also look at a number of different courses that could kind of drive me into a direction that I eventually am in now. But what that allowed me to do was to work and study at the same time. So I'm not going to say my age, but I for my age, I must say, because I worked so early on in life, I've got more than 25 years experience in the industry. And because of that, it's been able to give me the career that I have today, which is great. And I think experience pays big, dividends when you come into pressure cookers like Mirvac, who are always innovating and always looking at the best thing, and the experience of what you've trialed, what you've failed, how you've done things in other companies. It really helps. When you're in a large business like Mirvac. So yeah, that's how it started, man.
Yeah, and so as you're getting through this, do you have any like real key moments? Okay, so now we're kind of hitting the ground, we're doing the work, we're getting involved. I'm putting my socket behind me. I'm doing the right thing, what Dad says. Following my sister. But have you got some key moments in this that really, I don't know, sort of projected to the next level in your workforce?
When I got kicked out of home. No, I'm joking. No, I think the biggest. I remember it vividly, actually, that the biggest transformation in my career was at Hassel. And it all goes back onto what I learnt during the TAFE stages of my life and doing architectural technology. I was exposed to a lot of different bits and pieces of software that in university you didn't have. So, I mean, I learned Revit before people even knew what Revit was, which kind of gave me a backbone to when I started working at Hassel as a BIM manager. And I was there for 9 years at Hassel. But I remember vividly, we were doing MicroStation AutoCAD, and we were doing a lot of projects for Foster and partners in the UK, and they were predominantly MicroStation. And basically, we were looking at doing a transition to this new product called Revit. And I remember, one of the big guys there that, he's like, so who knows how to use Revit? Does anyone know? And out of, 100 people, I was just like, me? I know how to use it. The guy's like, what? Really? You know it? I'm like, yeah, I do it at TAFE, and I've drawn my own little house project, and I know how to, do families and all this kind of stuff. And that's really how my career started in BIM management. So we kind of formed a team around, how do we test projects? How do we deliver projects? We failed so many times in the use of Revit, but I was right in the middle of that, which made me learn a ton load of stuff in terms of implementation, strategy, what businesses see as value add, and yeah, that was a kind of like the clear projection to where I am today. It was like, okay, well, this is kind of cool. I'm pretty good at this. I was always good at technology. I was good at fixing stuff and building stuff and testing things. I really had a knack for that, and yeah, that was the time where I was, okay, this could be something I could do for, instead of doing drafting or whatever. This is pretty cool. I can do this, and that's how it started. But that was a real change in my career or my thought in terms of where I wanted to go in life. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So this is what Revit version are we talking here?
I don't even think I had a version. I think it was like, what's the first or second one? Luke, do you remember what it's called?
Well, I don't know. It depends when you're talking. Like around 2006-07 was like Revit 8, I think. So it depends what year you're talking. Because before that, I don't know.
I'd say yeah, probably 2005-06 is when I first started playing with it.
Yeah, cool.
And probably even earlier at TAFE. But I remember it was, obviously nothing like what it was today, like what it is today. And it certainly didn't have any influence to anybody. But my teacher at TAFE was like, mate, this is the future. I was like, who's this bloke? What's he know about the future? But he was right. And mate, it's the way things are going. And when you look at what you guys do and, what everybody tries to tap into, it's the data that's inside Revit. So, yeah.
Yeah. So any challenges for you, mate, personally along the journey? You've come out of TAFE, you've become kind of this digital transformation guy in businesses. What are some of the key challenges along that journey?
I think. Do you have 2 hours? Mate, there's every day is a different challenge. I would say.
Oh yeah.
I think from business to business, everything presents its own challenges depending on where you work. So at Hassel, we were design architects, creative people, where we only used Revit to a certain function, and it added value to what we did. Eventually, there were lots of challenges in testing and lots of challenges in implementing a new technology, a new challenge. But being at Mirvac, where I've now been here for 6 years, just over 6 years, and we've gone through a massive digital transformation. There's been massive challenges from COVID to finances to project delays to all sorts of things that impact future strategies or implementation of new technologies or pushback from industry in terms of what are the softwares that we wanted to use. There's challenges in a lot of things, but I'll probably say the biggest one would be implementation and change, especially when you don't have a base to start off. So, if you're coming into a business that has no idea what the technology is and you're trying to implement something or trying to prove its worth, there's always going to be challenges if you can't find an ROI or you can't sell or tell people what that ROI is. So you need to get buy-in. There's always going to be challenges around that. Today, we're looking at increases in software pricing and all sorts of stuff. So you've got to start to think about, okay, so how much value does this product give us that we're going to spend this much money? These are the challenges I have. I've got to try and prove to the business that, if you invest in software and BIM and this and that, it's going to give you this, and here's the value, and that's the hardest part. I'd say definitely biggest challenge.
Because you can't really talk about ROI unless you're measuring something already.
That's right. So you need a specific framework there that essentially allows you to measure ROI and be able to prove it. But you go from business to business, and their measure of value is very different. Right? Now, obviously, everyone's got financial value, but there's also got project value. Why are we doing this on a project? Why are you taking?
And business culture can be really different as well, can't it?
Yeah. Because like for example, at Mirvac, we see a lot of value in sustainability. We've got targets to meet and certain things like that. How do we use the BIM model to enhance the use of sustainability or to measure sustainability? And that's a value add to a project, right? So there's a real use case for stuff like that. But I'd say every company has their own areas of a challenge, definitely.
Yeah. So what are you most proud of? You've dealt with these different challenges along the way and solved heaps of problems. And is there something you're most proud of in your career to date, or even a particular project you may have worked on?
I'd probably say I'm proud to be where I am today. That's to be totally honest. I mean, I've gone through a journey of trying to get to where I want to be today, and that's where I am today, working at Mirvac in a group management role. I'm very proud of that.
That's awesome.
And it's taken a long time because it's taken a lot of convincing and it's taken a lot of effort to get to where we are. And it's all the 25 years of work that I've done to get to where I want it to be. But I think what I really like to see, in what makes me proud, is seeing what you've done on a project implemented.
Become real.
It's almost like like an architect, and they build something, and then they're walking past with their family, and they're like, "Oh, I built that. I worked on it." It's like a real proud moment,
Yes.
I feel the same when we've implemented something really cool on a project. I think it's It's what makes me want to come to work every day, you know?
Yeah, and sometimes you're the only one who would know all the little pieces that had to come together to make that work, right?
Yeah. What's that button? Yeah. Oh man, it took me 6 years to get that button, you know? Like, yeah. People would just walk straight past it and don't even know what it is. Yeah.
You've got to put your name on it, Anthony's button,
That's right.
and then they'll know. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what piece of advice would you give people? Are they coming up out of high school, maybe going to TAFE or something, and what advice would you give them if they want to come into this industry now?
Embrace technology, because technology is going to drive everything. It's a real driver. Be innovative. Do not, shy away from an opportunity to look at new ways of doing things. I think it's really important that you stay focused on the end goal, and whatever that is, but always look at new ways of doing things. It's really important because then that keeps you current, but then puts you ahead of anybody else. You know what I mean? We've still got day-to-day business that we need to achieve and we need to, get done. But if you're looking at innovative ways or you're looking at different routines or techniques that's not in the normal, that's what's going to set you apart in terms of your future.
Yeah, that's good advice for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's something, like regardless of what projects I worked on or what pieces of software I implemented, I always did things with an open mind that there could be a better piece of software out there.
Could be a better way.
Or a better tech out there or a better solution or workflow out there. It's really important. Really important.
That's right. Otherwise you get stuck, right?
Correct. Yeah.
We get pretty honest on here, mate. Sometimes we share our mistakes. What mistakes? You probably haven't made any mistakes, but if you had have made any,
I made a lot of mistakes in my life, mate. I made a lot of mistakes in my life, definitely.
What would you share that others can perhaps learn from your mistakes? Something to avoid, maybe.
Not listening to my father was one big mistake. Hopefully you can't see this, but no, I think we've made lots of mistakes, like in terms of suggesting certain things or suggesting certain ways of doing things that completely failed. Fail is good,
Fail is good.
Yeah. Like we're in a space where it's bad to fail, but I think we, as technology enthusiasts and people who work in the industry, fail is not bad. And embrace the fail, because there's also better solutions that are out there that can assist you with what you've just learnt. So I've so many times I've suggested to put this money in this technology, or try this workflow, or hire this person, or do that, or whatever, and it's become a bad decision. But you take it on the chin, you get up and you do it again.
And why do you think it was bad though? Is it because you're just following your gut, or is it because the people weren't right for the time?
I'd say it'd be a combination of both. When you're looking at implementing something, and you're the only person on that journey.
Yes.
And then you get it wrong. It's kind of like a kick in the guts. Like you kind of feel like I never got anybody involved, or it's kind of like probably should have did my homework on this one, or something like that. But I think if you fail, it's important to get people on the same journey so you know where you're going. Like it's important to make sure that people are supporting you. And that's like we live in an industry, in a world where you can't fail. It's not like if you fail, it's going to cost the project, and people are scared to make a mistake. But you can't do that with technology. You have to be able to test and fail and see how things go, and that's how you get the best out of the product.
Yeah, that's a really interesting tag. I think all of us here have been on that journey where you've got to bring about change within an organization. Hey?
It's not vodka, by the way. This is
It's Friday afternoon, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, where you've had to bring about change within an organization, but you have to articulate, okay, well, this is why we're making this change. You mentioned it earlier about the ROI, and okay, this is why we're going to do a different. We're going to do something different here.
Yeah.
going to have this kind of impact on their project. It's going to have this kind of impact. But I like what you're saying here is we've got to be also honest and say there's risks here. We could fail. We're likely to fail.
Yeah.
How has that been received? Like, how do you go about explaining that?
I'll give you a perfect example, right? So we've implemented clash detection on all our projects, and we do that on all our projects religiously, right? But we still go to site and see clash issues. So does the clash test process, is that a failure or is it a successful process? And trying to explain to people that there are so many different facets in stuff happening on site versus what's happening inside is very different, right? And it's very difficult to explain those type of things. But at the end of the day, causes problems on site, which means your process is wrong. It's like, no, it's not. It can't be. You know, like we've got it coordinated on the drawings. The drawings are fine, but things still happen on site that are out of your control. So
Yes.
it's a perfect example of, you know, what you can do still doesn't, and it's the right thing to do, still has a massive impact on the outcome, you know?
And there's a range of reasons for that, right? Because you're finding an issue, but is it getting communicated? Is it getting communicated in a timely way? There's all these other things that is tough to make sure happen every time. You know, perfectly. Eh?
Yeah, man. But well, that's why we
you keep iterating. You keep improving. That's right.
You keep improving the process. You keep refining it. You keep seeing, you know, why these problems happen. You've really got to be a problem solver in this industry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Does it get, Anthony, I'd be curious to know, like, you've worked for large organizations, both architecturally and, you know, where you're at now, Mirvac. The larger the organization, there's a lag and there's a gap between you and maybe getting out on site. Yeah. You're implementing changes here. How long does that take for actually to see the commercial benefit or the ROI actually play itself out? Yeah. There's a lot of people in between those two gaps as well. Have you got anything else there you can add to, you know, part of your journey?
I think it really, the size of the company, if you've got good processes in place for change management, then it shouldn't impact it that much. But you've got to have good processes for change management, not just in your office. So you can't just work in your little bubble. In, like, for example, my team's in the operational space. We can't just test and think this is fantastic here and then expect it to be done on site. So there is a lot of process and there is a lot of training and awareness that you've also got to, you know, strap onto these type of strategies so that people then are aware of what you're doing. There's a lot of, you know, communication and your stakeholder engagement that you've got to keep on top of your technology solutions that you're trying to roll out. So, you know, part of my role is not just thinking about strategy and, you know, thinking about how we're going to do things over the next 3 years or what's the next best thing. It's also about education, about educating the staff, educating the people who you want, the end user as well, you know, to actually utilize this technology or whatever you're going to, you know, implement. I think with a smaller company, like, for example, when I was at GSA, they're not a small company, but they're smallish architectural firm. But, you know, what we implemented in that business was completely suitable for that business. And it was very limited to, okay, Anthony's got a new idea. Let's do it on this project. Next day it will be implemented on that project because you worked with the project leaders. But then it kind of just stopped in design, right? It just doesn't go any further. Whereas here at Mirvac, if I'm trying to implement something, you've got, you know, development, PDM, construction, design, finance, digital. All these people have invested in this solution, so they all need to be aware of the change. And yes, it does take a bit longer, but it's for the benefit of everybody. So you've also got to think, you know, like, you know, my Clive, who I love, you know, he said to me, Anthony, don't think like this anymore. Think like this. You Like you really got to think about the bigger picture. You got to get everybody involved. You've got to make sure that everyone is aware of what you're doing, because this is now, you're thinking in a much bigger space. So that was his first bit of advice. God bless him. But it's important to also make sure that you're taking these people on the journey, right? Otherwise, it takes so much longer to get approvals and takes so much longer to get it over the line, and like people just don't support you. And it's just you need to get everybody involved.
And do you do practical? Have you got practical ways of or anything you could share? Is it lunch and learn sessions, or is it all right, big think tank, everybody in an idea, let's swell the pot around a bit?
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm actually working on this at the moment, which I can share with you. So we're looking at a 3-year strategy, right? So first thing in my role is to go, right, what's the 3-year outlook for Mirvac from a digital engineering perspective look like? So what I do is, okay, what's it look like today? Let's take a snapshot of what is current state. And I find that a really handy way to get stakeholders involved in the change. So I would sit with every single development manager, every single person who's working on a project, and say, how does it look today in your eyes from a DE perspective? Where are we failing? Where are we succeeding? How much value can we add here? What are you thinking there? This is what my thoughts are. And actually summarize all that and get it into like a brain dump. So then people are aware of what you're trying to do, and people are aware of the change you're trying to make. And it also helps them support your journey. And then essentially you're driving the vision based on communication and almost acceptance from the people and your peers that you've already spoken to. So it kind of helps two ways. You're kind of measuring your, where you want to go in terms of a strategy, or what's important, what's the value add to the business, but also you're getting buy-in from just talking to people. Hey, what do you think? Where are we going wrong? Like, what happened on your project? I heard this wasn't good. Like, how do we fix it? Getting them involved is really important. And then a shitload of presentations. No, I mean, look, we have so many groups here with acronyms. I forget it. DLT, ELT, ABC, all these different acronyms where very important people are sitting in these rooms where you need to present your strategy and what you're doing and how you're doing things and get their buy-in. It's really important to get their buy-in. And then once that filters through the top tier, then you have full reign on the rest of the business in terms of, okay, guys, we've got board approval to do this. Everyone's endorsed it. Everyone finds it, a great idea. And let's do the training. Let's do the implementation. Let's get teams on the ground, awareness pieces, all those type of things. So there's a number of different ways that we get the message out.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Because there's a unique opportunity there, isn't there? Because you have so many things under one roof, the opportunity for this really cool innovation to happen at a big scale is just sitting right there, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we I think we're the only business that's a fully integrated business model, where we've got everything under one roof, from operational to delivery to everything, like it's really what brought me to Mirvac. It's why I came here. There's a lot of opportunity in doing something really, really cool with DE. And, I don't think there's any other business that can actually do that. So I'm very lucky to be here.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah.
You almost see it like a full stack. Like, whereas if you're working for, an engineer or an architect or even a builder, it doesn't see the full stack. And so you're able to implement change and see it across the whole business and it plays out the whole way through.
Yeah. Like, we have an asset management function who are like all about 6D and want to know data, and we haven't even tapped into that space yet, but they're doing their own thing at the moment. And it's like, man, like let's collaborate, let's talk, let's see what can you use from the BIM model and where's the value add in that space and how can we work together? Like, You don't really get to have these conversations in other firms. Like it's really cool.
Mm.
Yeah. So there's a lot of lots of things to think about in the next couple of years on the DE front in Mirvac.
Yeah, well, for everybody, isn't it? Everybody's starting to think about the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Data is king.
Yeah. Speaking of future, you're a technologist at heart, I can see. Where do you see things going over the next 3 to 5 years? I know you probably can't share everything, but I'm sure you've got some ideas of, okay, this is what it's going to look different in the future, and this is where we need to be investing time or researching.
Yeah. I mean, you can't talk about future without talking about AI. I mean, it's kind of like the biggest buzzword at the moment. But I also come back to, what's driving the value for the business. If it's not AI, then it shouldn't be part of our future plan, right? If it's something else, then it needs to be part of our plan. There's so many different bits and pieces of technology that is, that's enabling us to automate our workflows, which I think is really important. We're never going to have robots in the office, just getting rid of our staff members. But, there's going to be a lot more use for automation, I see. Obviously, AI is going to play a big part in doing that, or how we're doing that. But, man, I mean, look, we can have this conversation today about, certain types of technology. Then we can rerun this podcast in 6 months' time, and it could be completely different. So, who knows? But I mean, look, our digital team, we have a very impressive digital team who really focus on AI and trending and all sorts of stuff with what's going on in the industry. And we've got our own AI environment here where it's called Mirvac Gaia. And it's, and we use a whole bunch of, industry standards. We've got our AI policies and all sorts of stuff that, we've embedded into our daily office workflow. But again, it's something that's today, what's it look like in the future? There's, come and ask me in 3 years' time.
I guess also what you are saying is that maybe the builder of the future, maybe the developer of the future is able to respond to changes pretty quick. Needs to have obviously the ear on the ground.
Got to adapt for sure. There are so many different things out there, and you need to be able to adapt to change and to implementing new trends. Because at the same time, your clients are going to expect you to do that kind of stuff too. Funny and lucky enough that Mirvac is our own client, right? But it's looking at what's the shiniest toy that's out there, and whether it's going to add value to our business. And lots of people looking about these shiny toys and not really essentially looking at where does the business want to go next. It's a funny one, what do you guys think?
Well, I mean, there's two things here that we've got to be able to juggle, and I think you're probably in this position where you've got to do it the most, is you've got to be able to see a new technology and respond to it pretty quickly. But at the same time, we talk about process so much, and we talk about we've got to have a good process. These new shiny things are disruptive to some degree. Whether they're fully disruptive or not, they're going to upset the process. So we've got to be able to know, is this a toy? Is this something that we respond to and implement? Or hang on, we've just got our process right. Yeah. We don't want to make the change just yet. We want to see. Yeah.
It's a real fine line, You need to, you always come back to, does it make things more efficient in your current process? If it's not, then keep going. If it's going to add 20, 30, 40% more efficiency in something you're actually currently doing, then yeah, let's have a look at it. And then you think about, okay, how much is that going to cost? Is it going to cost me more than the efficiency gain, or is the cost going to is the gain going to outweigh the cost that you're going to pay for that efficiency? So there is a real fine line in implementing new technologies, new strategies, and things like that.
And disruption is a hard thing because you can go get a faster horse or you can build a car. And that's kind of where a lot of businesses struggle, because it takes real guts to make a big leap, into something that's a big change.
Everybody wants to drive a Ferrari, but pay for a Fiat.
You asked me what I think. I think the wrestle I have is what job roles will look like in that 3 years, and that's what I try to think about. Is, do they change? Are there different people? Is the job title the same? Like, what does the team look like? Because then you'll kind of know the technology has facilitated that change.
Yeah, man, interesting. I mean, I'd be really keen to see what the job roles look like on site in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yep.
Like what happens there? Like what's the trend there? Like we're implementing a lot of different technologies to track site movements and like all sorts of different like open space, for example. We're using that. We're doing lots of lidar scanning and drones, and we've got crane usage technology, and like there's all sorts of stuff that we're implementing on site. And okay, but that's just the technology. The people are still there doing the same thing, right? So what happens to them in 5 to 10 years? What's the move? What's the change in role? Or, I'd love to see what that looks like.
Because I heard the new term recently, which is app fatigue. So there's so many point solutions now, and if you're a site guy and you've been told to use this thing and use that thing and use the other thing, that's pretty tough. When you still got to go out and build as well.
Yeah. Man, I get app fatigue all the time. But I think that'd be really interesting. Huh? I think it'd be really cool to see what that looks like.
And I think that the digital engineering people, I think they've got a decision to make, which is, are they happy with the status quo, or are they happy to keep pushing? Because all of us kind of made our name on pushing the cutting edge always. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I feel like some people are starting to sit back and put BIM in their job title and just that's it. Yeah,
that's right. I mean, how many BIM managers do you see pop up now?
Yeah.
I mean, that's great. Like everyone's embracing the change, and everyone really wants to be in that forefront of technology. So surely we're doing something right.
People know what BIM is now. So we did that. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. It's crazy.
Yeah. I think going back to Clive's point, he's asking you to think a bit bigger because like to the analogy of the car and the horse, the faster horse, there's not many people asking for the car because it doesn't exist. They just want the faster horse because that's what we've been doing. But you've got to be able to think big enough to know, to be asking the questions of the 5 years away. What are we going to be doing on site? What do these roles look like?
Yeah. Like I'm very lucky to work in a very high tech, cutting edge team who are always thinking about certain things about construction and design, technology. There's a lot of like analytical measurements that we look at in terms of what is the stuff that we need to be looking at and studying. And I think like going back to Clive's think big, it's my previous role we were kind of doing it in residential, and that was kind of like one business unit that was really thriving with digital engineering, but then what else, and why can't we do it in BTR, BTS? Why can't we do it in, commercial? Why can't we do mixed use? Why can't we do it in all these different other areas? So to centralize the DE component of the business was critical to be able to look with a much bigger lens over the business and see, okay, where can we add the value, which is, I think that's really important. It's a big step for Mirvac to do that, I think, because then I believe they believe in the digital engineering space and that looking from a top-down approach to see, okay, how do we assist that guy, and how do we assist that guy, and how do we assist that guy on various projects using digital, I think is really important. Gives you got to be strategically located in a company to be able to have that vision.
Which is kind of my question, because I think some businesses, people have a job and their job is to deliver something, and if your job doesn't have a part where you can step back and look at what's going on, that's a bit of a worry, isn't it? Because people kind of get stuck into just doing something.
Yeah.
You're just naturally, I know you're going to be at home laying in bed at night thinking, how can I do something better? But people, they also need to have an environment where they actually have time to investigate and imagine the future.
Yeah. And this is the problem, right? If you're sitting in a department, how do you test stuff? You test it on a project. If I was a project leader, I would say, don't test it on my project.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
that'd be the guinea pig.
Why am I the guinea? Why am I paying for your testing? And so then that gets impacted, and you don't move forward. You need a development fund that allows you to do some research, right? An R&R fund, whatever it's called. R&D fund, sorry. And so, being in operations, you kind of have a little bit of that to be able to just test and look at things and see how what's best suited for Mirvac, or how does it work, or, without the pressures of delivering a project.
Yeah, because I keep hearing about operational improvement, like sometimes we talk about digital just a touch too much, when ultimately it fits into a bigger umbrella of operationally getting the process right and repeatable and optimizing it,
Yeah.
I just want to pick up on something you said just a moment ago. The digital helps you ask the questions. And so I think that maybe at an operational level, maybe this is just an outcome of going digital, but we've been able to use this digital process and these digital tools to actually ask bigger questions that we haven't before.
Yeah.
We've now got data to ask questions. The data didn't exist before because we didn't have a digital workflow.
That's right. And if it did exist, you weren't able to read it.
It was hidden, locked away somewhere. Yes.
So data does allow you to make better informed decisions, for sure. Having the right platforms to be able to do that is very important.
Yeah, cool. Might jump into a quick fire round now, Anthony. This is kind of, as we start to conclude, we've got a few questions that.
Am I on like deal or no deal? Or,
absolutely. This is absolutely one of those questions.
Just without the bag full of cash. There's no bag full of cash at the end.
Do I got to go home with some money or what?
Okay, you've got a choice between a hammer, a screwdriver, and duct tape. What are you going for?
Screwdriver.
Screwdriver. That's a second screwdriver. I like it.
Hammer, I can probably break something. Screwdriver, I can finesse something.
Yes.
Duct tape, not much value. It peels away eventually. That was a very quick answer. That's my answer.
Yeah. Okay. Now we've got a material question now. Concrete, steel, or timber?
Ooh. To work with or to live in? Be surrounded by?
You got to live in this one. Yeah.
So I was going to say to work with, timber. I love working with timber. I like making things. To live in, steel.
Yeah. You like that industrial vibe, eh?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
It'd be
cool.
a combination of concrete and steel, that's how I'd say, but mainly steel. I like steel. Yeah.
And have you got a favourite piece of hardware tech at the moment that you've been using?
Favorite piece of hardware tech?
Or something you've seen recently? Just like
Very
Haven't
hard
got Apple Vision Pro, or you don't have any VR goggles or a 360 camera, nothing like that.
well, this is a stupid answer, but I'll make you laugh anyway, because I had to buy this little notepad for my daughter, and it's like $49, and she's able to draw and wipe it away and draw and wipe it away, and it's like made her so happy. But this is how you add value to somebody's life. Doesn't matter how much the thing costs, right? Just perfect, you know. Now, my favorite tool, I'll probably say my laptop at the moment. I've gone through so many of them. We've tried to upgrade them because, you know, there's so much new tech that we're trying to use. And so mate, every 6 months we're trying to get a new laptop, which is interesting time here.
What did you end up with? What's your laptop that you like?
I've got a ThinkPad Xeon. I'm not sure it's called a...
ThinkPad's IBM, yeah?
Lenovo. ThinkPad, yeah. Lenovo.
Yeah, I've heard they're good.
Lenovo. Really good. Gen 5. Good touch screen. It's really good.
Well, we'll contact them, see if they'll pay you some commission for that plug, mate.
Yeah, just take it out. If they don't, take it out.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, we might wrap up here, Anthony. That has been it's been really cool to talk to you and get the full backstory, even back to this soccer, the grassroots kind of level of you know where it all started. It was really cool, and you've given us a lot of insight and a bit of wisdom along the way of some of your journey. Thank you so much for your time, mate.
Absolute pleasure. Fantastic idea. I think it's really good. It's a good way to get you guys, you know, out in the market and to speak to industry people. It's fantastic. It's good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, mate. We love doing it. It's fun.
I'm sure I'll talk to you tomorrow, Luke. But anyway.
Sounds good.
Yeah, no, all good. Thanks, guys.